Ms. Wolf refused to answer most of our questions. We had a number of exhibits where she's sending the email, she's receiving the email, and she refused to answer just about every question it seemed we had. When we asked, and she refused to answer based on instructions she was given from the Justice Department, we said, did you get any supplemental instructions, any additional instructions from the Justice Department in light of what happened yesterday with the vote on the House floor, where a majority of the House officially adopted the resolution okay, an official impeachment inquiry, and she said that they had not.
That was House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan speaking after former federal prosecutor Lesley Wolf, who allegedly interfered in the Hunter Biden investigation, refused to answer any questions during a closed-door interview. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer and House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith both joined me on this program yesterday, calling out what they called the first son's entitlement after he didn't show up for his deposition, blew it off. Watch this.
He doesn't think the rules apply to him. We issued him a lawful subpoena. We've spent 10 months building a case of corruption against the Biden family. We have their bank records. I think everyone in America knows by now, even the people that are all in for Joe Biden, that the family was influence peddling.
They showed that apparently because your last name was Biden, you were treated differently. He's creating a constitutional crisis because his father is president of the United States and he feels like that he has the protections and can do as he wishes.
Joining me right now with more on all of this is Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry. He's a member of the House. He's the House Freedom Caucus chairman and a member of the House Oversight, Foreign Affairs, and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. Congressman, good to see you. Welcome. Thanks very much for being here. How do you read all of this?
It's disturbing, Maria. And of course, all of us want to believe that our president is working on behalf of the United States on every single occasion in every way that you could think possible. I got to tell you this, the interview with Lesley Wolf and the fact that she won't answer questions, but the fact that we know that she tipped off the Bidens about a search based on a search warrant, that she stymied the investigators from asking questions about the big guy or Hunter Biden's father is eerily similar to the days of Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. And we're, as Americans, not only dismayed and concerned by that and the potential that that has to go right to the president's malfeasance, but also to the highest law enforcement agencies in the land that they would be involved in the corruption and the cover-up. And as you know, Maria, the crime is always one thing, but the cover-up in these things is always worse. And how deep does this rat hole go right now?
Yeah, it's a great point. You know, people are so sick and tired of everything happening and this corruption that appears to be in plain sight. We want to see accountability, Congressman. Are you going to be able to really get to the bottom of this and see some accountability here? I mean, if we have a commander-in-chief right now who has accepted money from our number one adversary, doesn't that make America vulnerable?
Of course, it makes America vulnerable as the commander-in-chief and the chief policy decision maker is compromised or potentially compromised in making decisions on behalf of the Communist Party of China as opposed to the United States of America. Regarding accountability, the House is going to continue to do its work. But as you know, we had to pass this formal impeachment this resolution to open up the investigation because agencies like the FBI, Department of Justice, IRS were getting in the way and would not allow us to get the information. Of course, the Biden family's not going to give us any information, so it's a long slog. But I think the proof is going to be on the first case whether the Department of Justice holds the same standard for Hunter Biden that they held with Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, which, by the way, were held in contempt of Congress from a committee that was not duly constituted. All these committees are duly constituted, and he defied the subpoena, yet he bothered to travel to the Capitol and make a spectacle of himself. So I'm wondering, is he going to be taken away in leg chains for defiance of this congressional subpoena? It's going to be up to the Attorney General.
Wow. This is just disgusting. The Attorney General is working for Joe Biden.
Right. And we were told that the Attorney General Barr or Sessions were not the president, at that time, President Trump's personal attorney. Yet when Eric Holder was the Attorney General, he said he was President Obama's wingman. So
That's
again,
right.
the double standard. Americans are so tired of it. They do want to see accountability. They demand it.
Look, we also want to see term limits because this is getting out of hand. People go to Washington, they stay there for decades, they have nothing in their pockets, and then they come out multimillionaires. Would you support term limits?
I have supported term limits, and I would tell you this as well, Maria. Need some term limits for these long-term bureaucrats who are actually in charge as opposed to elected officials.
Yeah.
People don't even want to go to their elected official anymore because agencies and regulators are running their lives. And there's no accountability whatsoever for any of them.
I agree with you. That's a great point. If you're going to do term limits for the elected officials, you need to do term limits for their staff as well. This deep state exists. I want to move on and get your take on what's going on in the Senate. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer delaying recess, ordering Senate colleagues to return back to work next week in a last-ditch effort to strike a deal to unlock aid for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, and perhaps see some changes at the border. The White House is urging Congress to, quote, stop dithering, blaming Republicans for, quote, actively undermining our national security interests. The House, of course, passed in favor of the defense policy bill yesterday. That includes $886 billion in annual military spending, authorized aid for Ukraine. Congressman, it also extends FISA and the surveillance on American citizens for another 4 months. Give us your take on what took place yesterday as the House voted this right under the wire before everybody left for the holidays.
Well, first of all, Maria, none of this was necessary. Didn't need to pass any of this. The troops are being paid, getting their raise. No reason whatsoever to extend FISA. It just continues into next year anyhow. These are false deadlines. Let me just say this about the Senate working overtime. They should be working on the spending bills that were due last September that they're not even bothering with, number one. Number two, the House has passed aid to Israel. There's no reason that Chuck Schumer can't bring this up right now and pass that. As a matter of fact, the last time it was brought up, forced up by Republicans, he voted against it, as did every single Democrat. Number three, on national security, don't talk to us about aid for Ukraine and holding up national security. We have record numbers every single day crossing our American border of unknown, unvetted people, mostly military-age males coming across streaming into our country, and you're complaining about aid to Ukraine. Secure our border, and then we can have a discussion about all kinds of other things. But until that is done, Americans demand that their country be made safe again. And it's not happening. And I don't suspect it's going to happen, whether it's before Christmas or even after Christmas, quite honestly.
So even though you guys passed the defense bill last night, you still are going to dig in and not agree to any additional Ukraine funding until you see policy change at the border, right?
That's my position. Secure our border, then we can have a Congressman,
good to see you this morning.
I think it's the Speaker's decision, too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maria. God bless you.
Merry Christmas. Decision. And to you. Merry Christmas, Congressman. We will talk soon, and we are watching all of these developments. Thank you, sir.